What attracted me to the Indow window product was that you don't have to mess with your house at all. The way that the product works, you just put it in. They're fitted perfectly to each window, so it's just a gasket, a pressure gasket that allows you to insert the window in. They're light, they're easy to move around. So my family has owned the house for 2 generations, and my dad took all these old windows apart and rehung all the sash weights. So it's not creaky old windows that don't work, it's creaky old windows that work perfectly. And yet it's still single pane glass. It's still got the kind of the old bent glass that you see with the really old manufactured windows. I like that. It just makes it feel like an old original house that hasn't been messed with too much. Options that I looked at for window replacement were the cheap option, which is saran wrap and a hairdryer, an exterior storm window to go on the outside, or total window replacement. And each one of those options didn't work for me for different reasons. My main motivation for purchasing the window was energy efficiency and just the draftiness of an older home. The process from when I initially found Indow windows on the internet and to having the installation was pretty straightforward. I called, we scheduled a measure. A crew of 2 people came out and used a laser measuring device to measure exactly the tolerances of each individual window, because of course nothing in this old house is square, so they have to make the windows specific to each existing window. So anyway, a crew came out, measured each window, tagged them all, and went back to their office, I guess, typed up the specs, gave me a bid based on how many windows, the size of them, and then we talked about some different options in terms of how thick I wanted the Indow window material to be, what color I wanted the trim on the window to be. That all took 2 or 3 weeks, and then the crew came back out and installed them, and that took less than half a day. It was pretty brief because, again, you just push them in. Once the window has been made, there's no other installation to do. My wife and I had an infant recently, and so we keep the upstairs of our house about 10 degrees warmer than we used to because we've got a little one sleeping upstairs, and I didn't notice any change in my energy costs over the winter. This is just the first winter that I've had them, but based on that, I think there's clearly a savings. And the problem that it solved that I didn't know I even had was that the upstairs is so much quieter. There's a lot less street noise, garbage trucks on Monday morning, things like that. I just don't hear as much as I used to. The windows from the outside, you can't even really see them. From the inside, for the most part, because of the trim options that you can order, they pretty much disappear. I have a combination of painted wood trim and also stained trim. They have a brown border, which, I mean, it doesn't look like wood stain, but when you get 10 feet away from the window, the interior just disappears. It kind of blends with your existing trim work. Regarding the cost of the Indow window product, I think it's reasonable. They're not inexpensive, but when you compare to a window replacement, it's not even close. So they're vastly cheaper than window replacement. And compared to your typical vinyl or aluminum storm window that goes on the outside of the house, they're a little bit pricier than those products, but I really don't like how those look. When you get into the nice high quality wood storms that look good on an old house like this, they're less expensive than that. So I think they're a reasonable price for what you get.